Good morning. This is Anthony Nayagan. I welcome all of you. Today's reading is John 8:58. Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, before Abraham was, I am." I am as a sentence is incomplete. It has a subject, but it does not include an object or predicate. Whether this is an error in translation, I don't think so, because in another instance, God says to Moses, "I am who I am. Thus, you shall say to the Israelites, I am has sent you to them." That is Exodus 3:14. So, I am by itself is very meaningful in the Bible. Those who have followed our contemplation, guided contemplation and meditation, know that we use the word I am as mantra during our contemplations and meditations. Whether it is actual or phenomenal, tangible or intangible, material or immaterial, feeling or indifference, we want to assign something to I am. Without this assignment, I am does not make sense. Let's stop for a moment and think about the essence of what we want to assign. We want to assign desires and interests to I am. We want to assign an attachment to an I am. We want to assign a want or a need to I am. We want to assign something that satisfies our sense of self, our sense of mindfulness, our sense of ego. See, these assignments are what is described in the Bible as vanities. And in Hinduism and in Buddhism, these are described as vasanas. Let me tell you a story. See, at the end of the day, most of us, we take a quick shower to freshen up ourselves before we get into bed. And here there is a mother of two stands naked in front of the mirror. She checks her wrinkles on her forehead and she checks her bags under her eyes and says to herself, I am tired. She steps on a weighing scale and says to herself, I am fat. While she is in the shower, she realizes, gosh, I'm not losing my pregnancy weight. And while in the shower, she decides to do something to change the way the I am in herself feels about I am that she is. She decides that she consults a plastic surgeon for a facelift, for a liposuction, for breast implants, for a butt lift, and even a vaginal reconstructive surgery. She wants to recover the I am that she thinks she is by investing in quick fixes. She shares her feelings with her husband. I am going to become what I was when we started dating. I'm going to a plastic surgeon to get myself fixed. The husband seems agreeable. The next day, she does her research and gets a referral to the most popular and best reviewed surgeon and makes an appointment for the initial consultation. She goes to the doctor. The famous doctor's assistants do all the examinations and recommend her the solutions. She is included in a wait list for 1 year and for a procedure that will cost her $250,000 for surgery alone. Now, the surgical supplies and the hospital and everything, that could be another $50,000. She is coming home saying to herself, I am spending the most so that I am getting the best. Her husband is curious about seeing his wife again with a slim waist, perky breasts, tight vagina, and a butt that is firm, could not help but support her decision. For the next 1 year, her friends and family members hear an earful about I am blessed and I have the most loving and supportive husband from this woman. 2 years later, after all these fixes, the couple head to the divorce court over irreconcilable differences. The I am in the woman clearly identified her pain points as I am tired, I am fat, and I am not losing my pregnancy weight. When she visited the clinic of the famous surgeon, her office convinced the I am of her pain points and recommended her solutions that is going to fix the pain points of I am. The I am felt that she would become a transformed woman, free of pains. The surgeon became $250,000 richer, and her children lost their family. Many of you have guessed that this is a true story. You are right. What if she believed that there was nothing wrong with her body and her pain points, and what she was feeling were vanities without deeper meaning? What if she believed that she was a twice transformed woman by her pregnancies, and what she imagined as I am and her pain points as a glorious state of motherhood? What if her husband also transcended along with her transformations into motherhood, had clearly identified her pains as vanities? Why is the description of God as I am represents some sort of an incomplete being? Is God incomplete? God says we are His image and likeness. Are we incomplete? Clearly, what is mysterious about God is not being directly communicated to us in the words I am. What is missing remains mysterious until we search for the truth, delving into these mysteries. Let's do that. Every impact has an equal and opposite effect. Even before Jesus, since Plato, the school of intelligence was one of duality-based source intelligence that further evolves as building blocks known as theoretical reductionism based on dualistic outcomes. See, Christianity also evolved in the same formation of building blocks. The goodness of Jesus Christ is better explained by defining the evil nature of Satan as equal and opposite. See, righteousness does not make theoretical sense in the absence of the definitions about sin. It's only in the presence of sin we can better understand righteousness. In such a reductionism, to make sense of I am requires an object or a predicate to complete itself. See, if we look at modern science in the post-Newtonian era, duality still exists. Even in laboratory observations, we have identified particles as embodiment of matter and waves. But their patterns of behavior are not related to one another. In modern science, duality as particles and waves still exists, but equal and opposite does not. In the Newtonian order of understanding, I am may be incomplete, but considering modern science, I am is simply a state of being. It's a state of existence. See, modern science also reveals that this wave pattern is a form of energy. Even more fascinating, it is an energy that is consciously intuitive. As we once believed, matters do not converge to create new matters. As defined in Newtonian physics, matters create a decay and cease to exist when they converge. However, the wave of intuitive conscious energy can seek out other conscious energies. They can converge with the other conscious energies, and they can create new particles, and they can retrieve as themselves. See, convergence and retraction is possible for conscious energy. According to quantum fields theory, it is the quantum field of intuitive conscious energy created all particles in the universe. See, despite new scientific discoveries, human intelligence is still centered around matter. As matters, we fairly know what we are. We are a make of about 40 trillion cells that are formed of numerous particles. The cells itself are formed of numerous particles. So considering we as particles, we are trillions and trillions of particles. As particles created systems, we know how our memories function like. We know how the systems within us, as the digestive system, immune system, neurological system, and even the neural networks in our mind, we know how they operate. But these understandings completely sidelines the conscious counterparts of the particles in our body. Is it serious? I think so. For instance, the coronavirus and the COVID-19 vaccine. What does this vaccine do? It destroys the particles associated with the coronavirus, but the consciousness still remains. See, this consciousness still can converge with other consciousness and create other particles. All right, we have booster shots that can still destroy the particles that are being formed. But as to what extent the continuous booster shots are going to affect our immune system, that is yet to be seen. Isn't it? See, the being of I am is the conscious energy that we are. But when God says I am, that refers only to his conscious energy without an element of the associated particle. See, God is formless, but is the absolute presence of conscious energy. I am is the absence and freedom of any material entanglement. It is the ineffable being of creativity, joy, love, peace, and freedom. That is why the I am in God is independent of any object or predicate. That is exactly what Jesus is also. That is also the eternal presence of our own being as the image and likeness of God. That is what we seek in spirituality, the ineffable being of joy, peace, love, freedom that lives on into the eternity. Nonetheless, we are aware of our perishable, mortal being, but not as the eternal presence of our immortal being. Well, notice something fascinating in I am. It totally represents a present moment reality. Even Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. Think about it. See, in the Bible, we need to delve deep into the mysteries to learn what it says about consciousness. Many times it is not as straightforward. But in some Gnostic scriptures, such as the Sophia of Jesus Christ, consciousness is extensively described as the creator of the universe. In fact, it is Jesus who describes in the Sophia of Jesus Christ as consciousness creating the universe. Interestingly, Jesus describes the creator, in other words, Sophia, as a feminine energy. See, in certain languages in that part of the region, such as Greek and Aramaic and Arabic and all of that, there are genders to words. For instance, in French, there are genders to words. In Greek and Aramaic and Arabic and all of that, those are gender-centric languages. But Jesus, on the other hand, is not using a gender-centric language to describe Sophia. He says, she created. The text in the Sophia of Jesus Christ has very strong similarities to the epistles of the Eugnostics, which is also found in the Nag Hammadi codices. The Gnostic scriptures are non-canonical, but widely relevant in the Christian Orthodox churches. What is Gnosticism? Gnosticism literally translates knowledge. In Christianity, it is defined the thought and practice, especially of various mystical traditions of the church during the pre-Christian and early Christian centuries. And it distinguishes that the conviction, this knowledge is the conviction that emancipation comes through gnosis. In other words, enlightenment comes through knowledge. See, this tradition still exists in the church. Over the centuries, there are lots of mystics of the church emerged who were following the same conviction. In other religions, gnosis is also just as relevant. In Hinduism, specifically, mastering the dualistic knowledge is necessary. The knowledge of duality, what we discussed earlier, is absolutely necessary for transcending duality to non-duality, according to Advaita Vedanta. According to Gnostic works, the universe is not created as matters. Matters evolved as consciousness created matters. This is consistent with modern scientific discoveries, and this is what the theory of quantum fields says. In the Bible, the breath of God is the pure conscious energy that is intuitive, creative, and packed with the emotions of God. If we were to believe in the Bible, because the Bible says it's the breath of God that left God and created the universe. So it is consistent with modern scientific discoveries. And it is this conscious energy is what we are as image and likeness of God. I am is the absolute presence of supreme conscious energy of God. This is the only omni and ever-present consciousness that permeates all the universal elements that, even if they appear as matter, The consciousness itself is totally free of any material entanglements. That is why the consciousness is described as I am. Every conscious element in the universe is the makeup and embodiment of conscious energy of God. We are also the embodiments of I am. We may be aware of our mortal lives as the mercy of God, but we are clueless about the I am that we are. See, I am that we are. It represents freedom of entanglements. It is a freedom from mind itself. It represents absolute present moment reality. No past, no future, no intention, no desire, no attachment, no detachment even. It's a perfect peace and bliss. It is a state in which the powers of consciousness are in full motion, flowing bidirectionally, effortlessly receiving and giving at the present moment. It is creative, loving, joyful, grateful. All of these powers are in full motion without participation. That is the very nature of God as I am. Brothers and sisters, we are not free of our mind. Our mind is a major operative in our living. We are attached and identified by our mind. The mind is full of entanglements. The perceptive knowledge we have, expectations, plans, agendas, responsibilities, commitments, family, friends, dreams, desires, wants, needs, etc. It does not represent a present moment reality. It is always about reflecting on the entanglement, always about reflecting on the entanglements and programming to do something about the future the entanglements represent. See, the mind represents various degrees of satisfaction, but it does not experience peace, bliss, and joy. See, we are not even aware of the powers of our consciousness. Our creativity and emotions such as love, it does not flow bidirectionally as it does to God. It flows unidirectional. We love, but we do not receive love at the same time. When we are experiencing the creative power, our creativity is in motion with participation, not without. Our mind is fully active in our creative endeavors. For instance, when we are creating music, when we are creating anything artistic, when we are in the process of inventing something, we can be easily disturbed by external influences because our mind is in full participation. This is the unrealized human being of what we are. This is the unrealized being of I am that we are. See, I am fat, I am not pretty. All of these are awareness of I am as matters that attribute to entanglements. Our mind is fully participating in these. Plastic surgeries, exercises, body sculpting, hair implants. These are all magic pills and fixes for our pain points as mindful matters. Our mindful desires, in our mindful desires, we only consider the others as how that would affect them. After we plan how to fulfill our desires, see, our emotions are unidirectional. At best, it's a matter of how we are going to convince others of our plans, how we are going to tell our husbands, how we are going to tell our wives about what we have decided. It is a process of how we are going to convince them. That's all. Brothers and sisters, we are perishable matters. For perishable matters, pain points are natural. If you wish to be without pain points, explore the conscious being that you are. Explore the I am that you are. Pay attention to the silent voice in our beings that never stops telling us, this is not it. We are worthy of something more. So regardless of listening or knowing that we are worthy of more, we are going to keep hearing this voice until the end of our lives. That is the consciousness speaking to us. Unfortunately, our ego interprets this as our drive to accumulate more and more entanglements, to satisfy ourselves, because ego is clueless about peace and joy and bliss. It doesn't know anything about consciousness. We need to learn ways to disengage our mind, but still be able to observe our being. What I just said may be confusing, so let me give you another example. See, when we are dreaming, there is a sense awakens within us that is aware of our dreams as it observes our dreams. Our mind is not involved in our dreams. It is our awareness, it is our alertness tells our mind after the dream is finished that this is what we dreamed of. But while we are dreaming, the mind is disengaged. And in that sense, we are only observing. We are only alertly observing. That's all. So it is this sense is what I'm talking about. Brothers and sisters, spirituality is not a fix. It is seeking. Seeking begins with our awareness of our silent voice telling us, this is not it, and we are worthy of something more. Unless we pay attention to this voice now, this awareness will remain with us until we do something about it, or until we reach a point where we can do nothing about it. Secondly, spirituality is not a milestone or a culmination of a journey. It does not appear like we are journeying to a destination. See, it is a process of knowing who we are, what we are, and how we have evolved since our infancy. Then it is a matter of unveiling the thick layers of illusions and darkness that stand in the way of realizing the fullness of the I am that we are. Otherwise, we are already enlightened and a pure conscious being. See, spirituality does not require you to be highly philosophical, but it requires you to be thoughtful. It does not make us stand out as socially exceptional or inept. No. Spirituality is not hard. It does not prevent us from material accomplishments. In fact, it enhances our creativity. It enhances our decisions we make. It enhances everything about us in our relationships. As we learn to participate with God, we learn His creativity, we learn His love, we learn His emotions. And that is what become operative in us when we becoming spiritually evolved. See, spirituality is easy when we acquire the right knowledge, beatitude, and some basic disciplines. Brothers and sisters, there is no quick fixes, no magic pills, or simplified and standardized methodologies for growth in spirituality. There isn't. Spirituality is easy when we acquire the right knowledge, certain beatitudes, and some basic disciplines. The journey itself is altogether yours, and it is very, very personal. It is not the same as mine. It is very personal to you. The journey is not one of exploring something altogether new, not at all. The journey is about exploring yourself. It is a journey to learn and unveil what are standing in the way of realizing what is already you. See, it's a journey, yes, but it's a journey in which it doesn't appear like that you are making any progress. It is like, you are sailing, but without any GPS or a sextant. Everything appears as just normal and being without any milestones. See, the process is one of unveiling every layer of desires and vanities so that what is covered in darkness would be revealed in detail for you. In other words, it is just a matter of adjusting to the sail so the journey becomes normal. The journey appears to be progressing. That's all. Brothers and sisters, divine wisdom has an expression, and that is the purest and perfect love. We are loved unconditionally by God. That is also the purest and the perfect expression of love. And this is flowing bidirectionally, as I explained earlier. So learn to love God, and this begins with us loving ourselves. To love ourselves, knowledge is absolutely necessary. That is, knowledge about ourselves. Unless we have the right knowledge about ourselves, not what the ego says we are, but knowing exactly who we are is necessary. Without this knowledge, love cannot sustain itself. Knowledge is necessary for the sustenance of love. We also develop the knowledge of God, which is necessary. That's why we read the Bible. We read the written words. We read the unwritten words. We need to read Gnostic scriptures, because we always need to be in the mode of learning more and more about God in order to love Him, in order to remain in His love. So the knowledge is necessary, not the interpreted versions of the knowledge, even if it is interpreted by our ego or the church authorities. We need to have our own version of how the Holy Spirit is teaching us what the truth is. What the Holy Spirit is teaching us, who we are. We need to seek that knowledge to remain even in love with ourselves. In addition to this, we need to develop the grace of fearlessness and inner freedom. Because when we are afraid, love cannot coexist where there is fear. In fact, fear dispels love. Love dispels fear. So don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid of how our knowledge is going to make us feel about ourselves. No. Pray for the grace of God for fearlessness, and then ask Him to reveal the knowledge about ourselves. And then have the grace of express your love with total inner freedom. In inner freedom, our emotions, our love becomes bidirectional. So, brothers and sisters, start the process of loving ourselves by forgiving ourselves, by having compassion and mercy towards ourselves. Gradually, loving evolves from then on. Brothers and sisters, continue reflecting more and more on the words I am, these words are very integral to our being and the being of God. Reflecting on it is very necessary. Contemplating on it is necessary. Meditating on these words are necessary. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me those questions. There are videos of guided contemplations and meditations in our channel. Subscribe to our channel. Watch those videos. In those videos, we are contemplating on the words, I am. Follow along if you wish to explore. I am. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you.